Up $500 million to the U.S. government. It is the largest settlement of its kind. The feds say Google will hand over $500 million to settle charges that it showed illegal ads for online Canadian pharmacies in the U.S. Joining us now from L.A. to talk about it, consumer advocate John Simpson from Consumer Watchdog, a group that's praising the Justice Department's move. He says he hopes this gets Google's attention, but worries that Google has zero incentive to watch its ads as they are such a cash cow for the search giant. Also joining us is Macon Del Rahim, former Deputy Assistant Attorney General in the Department of Justice Antitrust Division, who is now an attorney at Brownstein Hyatt Farber Schreck. He advised Google on the acquisition of DoubleClick. Gentlemen, welcome to Bloomberg West. John, let's start with you. You are pleased with this action from the DOJ, yet you say it's not enough. Why?
Well, I mean, look, this was an obvious problem that Google had to pay a big settlement to get out of, but that this isn't the only sort of deceptive and perhaps illegal ads that show up in search. We had a recent study that found a lot of financial ads are deceptive and scams. I think a lot of Google's revenue is based on very bogus advertising, and I think that it's necessary for further regulatory action to take place. This was a significant one. It was a big bunch of money, but more needs to be done.
Now, John, Google said it banned ads for prescription drugs some time ago. What is Google really doing wrong here? Is it Google's responsibility to make the judgment on which ads should go on the site and which ones shouldn't?
I think they've got to put them through some sort of a screening that, goes by real human beings. Part of Google's problem is that they want to do everything with algorithms, computer formulas, so they can work it at a great scale. And they just don't have the incentive to put good, solid human judgment into their ad policies.
Macon, let's turn it over to you. You've advised Google in the past. What's your reaction to this action by the Justice Department? You say this could potentially have a broader impact.
First of all, for Google, I think this is wise for them to put this behind them. They have several other challenges. They got an FTC investigation. They have their AdMob investigation, merger still at the Justice Department, and recently announced the Motorola transaction. So they have a lot that they're busy with, including in Europe. With respect to this particular prosecution, I agree with John that there's going to be more that will happen. I don't know if more needs to be done or if Google is somehow suspect with all of its revenues. But there's other industries, not just pharmacies, but you have online gambling websites who advertise to the United States. You have many pirate websites that market free TV and movies and music to folks in the United States. Now you have a new target, not just a website who is culpable, but the advertising agent who is helping them attract consumers to those websites. And that's very significant for anybody operating a website or an advertising network.
Macon, though, how can Google prevent those kinds of ads from going on the site?
Well, in the pharmacy situation, I think you're going to start seeing some new industries mushrooming and self-regulatory groups within trade associations to help websites and advertising networks. In this particular case, Google knew about what was happening since 2003 as far as illegal pharmaceuticals. It was only with respect to the Canadian pharmacies they allowed them to continue to advertise. One of the provisions that they have done is they go to one of the trade associations that has a verified internet protection program through which various websites meet certain self-imposed industry standards. And that has been effective. That's been effective on privacy. That has been effective in the motion pictures industry, where they have rating systems. And that's one of the avenues they need to do. But
Macon,
they need to become careful.
Macon, as you mentioned earlier, Google is obviously under increasing pressure from regulators. What do you imagine is going on inside Google right now? They obviously have a very high-profile legal team led by David Drummond, is there anything that Google can do right now or at this point to appease regulators?
I think once you become as large as Google, you begin entering into markets and enter into certain business practices that attracts government attention. I don't know if there's anything Google itself can do other than comply with these investigations as they come up. And before they enter into some practices, one of the things I would advise them is go to the regulatory agencies, make sure what you're doing meets with the standards so that nobody gets surprised with a civil investigative demand or worse, a subpoena.
All right, well, this is a story we will continue to watch. John Simpson of Consumer Watchdog, Macon Del Rahim of Brownstein, Hyatt, Farber, and Schreck.